Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the background to Boris Johnson's claims that he is wanting to match the action of some other Western leaders against Putin's aggressive expansion. It's difficult not to come to the conclusion that Boris Johnson is little better than a Russian asset by both motivation and action. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So although it's all over the media as befitting a very serious situation, there are lots of aspects of Russia's past and present aggression towards Ukraine that need a more nuanced touch than someone with my level of knowledge can provide. There are certain things that are very clear. There are other things that, as I say, are more nuanced. So I'm largely going to stay away from many of the details. But when it comes to the crossover with British politics, well, then that does fall into my area, such as it is. And in this video, I'd like to discuss why Boris Johnson is talking tough on Russia's threats, in fact, quite frankly, unhelpfully aggressive himself, and yet doing nothing at all to peacefully resolve the situation, when of all world leaders in the West, he is uniquely placed to have a real impact and bring this to a successful and peaceful conclusion. Because the UK is in an odd position at the moment. It is obvious that we are being sidelined from the West's coordinated response to Russia. Yes, Boris Johnson was invited to speak at the Munich Security Conference, as if having a Prime Minister go to a security conference in Munich has ever done any good in the past. But whenever you hear any statements from the real world leaders on what is being done in unison, it's generally the UK is not mentioned. There's been a little bit more of a bone thrown in the past few days, but generally it's like it's what the US and the EU are doing, or the US and NATO, or France and Germany, or the EU and NATO. In no statement given by any Western leader that wasn't Boris Johnson was the UK or Britain ever really mentioned as being involved in any discussions, diplomacy, measures, anything. And the reason for this is that Boris Johnson is considered a Russian asset. This is unfortunate because with, in another time, with Boris Johnson not the Prime Minister, it would actually be more likely that you'd be pointing at Germany as the weak link. They would be identified as the least helpful in this situation. With a new and inexperienced head of government, and a frankly, in my opinion anyway, careless reliance on Russian gas, it's Germany who would be the least keen on triggering a major conflict with Russia. And no one wants a conflict with Russia. Again, this is why it's an absolute madness. The way to deal with Putin is really obvious. He's a kleptocrat, right? You just say, look, we know that you've funneled a load of money into the West through these people. We're going to freeze their assets. But we'd need the UK on board with that. And as I say, for the avoidance of doubt, when I talk about conflict as well in this video, I'm going to mean economic conflict. No one is supposing for a second that NATO or any NATO members are going to enter a war with Russia. The action being touted is economic. And as I say, that's enough. I don't want to get too much into the motivations from Putin's point of view, because you can read a lot of people and it all makes sense and it all stacks up to the known facts, and then you read someone else and they say something different and it all gets very complex. But he is a kleptocrat. Ultimately, that's what he is. Obvious to everyone. His power is based upon the wealth that he secures for his supporters. He's stolen it from his country and given it to a small number of supporters. You take away that wealth and surely you at least severely weaken his power, if not contain it completely. And where is that wealth? Largely in London. We have allowed Vladimir Putin to steal his country's assets over a long time and launder his ill-gotten gains in the UK. A large amount of it tied up in London property, for example. The UK government recently announced an end to golden visas for wealthy Russians. A small move, still positive, but the UK has the power to properly investigate UK investments by those with links to Putin and close down anything that looks dodgy. They can freeze the assets of those oligarchs close to Putin overnight. But we're not doing it. Why? The easy response is that these Russians have been bankrolling the Conservative Party and individual Conservative politicians. But with Boris Johnson specifically as Prime Minister, the potential treachery goes deeper. See, under Theresa May, Boris Johnson was made Foreign Secretary. It was suggested that because May knew Johnson was a security risk where Russia was concerned, oversight of MI6 was removed from his area. Now, I will say that Theresa May denied this, but the mainstream media seemed so sure of their facts that they talked about it as if it was confirmed fact. And we can certainly see why Johnson would be considered a security risk when we look at his behaviour since. Early 2018, a former Russian agent, no longer in Putin's good books, Sergei Skripal, was poisoned here in the UK. A highly dangerous nerve agent was used recklessly, in that it wasn't just targeting someone's life. It risked the lives of any police or passers-by in the area. Indeed, some people became ill. It was also a nerve agent known to be used only by Russia. The MMO, means motive and opportunity, entirely lined up with Putin having ordered this assassination. Everyone talked about this as a simple fact. Theresa May, Prime Minister at the time, expelled a load of Russian agents from the country. NATO held an emergency meeting to discuss the attack on a member, because that's what happened. The Russian state had ordered an attack on a NATO member's soil. Very serious. The international response was one of unity with the UK on this. Boris Johnson, the Foreign Secretary of the NATO member that Russia had just attacked, couldn't be bothered with the meeting. And he went to Italy to attend a party being given by the son of a former KGB officer and someone very close to Putin and, known to have close links with him. Johnson sneaked there as well. He didn't just go, do you know what? I didn't just say, Theresa, I can't be arsed with this meeting. I'm just going to go to Italy and have a party with some KGB members. No. He sneaked there. He'd left his security behind. So without any further context, the idea of the British Foreign Secretary getting drunk in the company of Russian agents close to Putin without your security personnel there in order to prevent you spilling any secrets should have been grounds for sacking. He wasn't. But there is further context. Johnson was known to be very close to this former KGB officer Lebedev and his own circle of friends, or specifically his son, the KGB officer's son. And as I say, these circle of friends are likely to have been agents themselves. In fact, in later defending the meeting, a spokesperson said, it's fine, Boris Johnson often goes to visit Evgeny, who's this KGB officer's son. And has met all of his friends. That is perfectly normal. And Johnson later put him in the House of Lords. He put the son of an ex-KGB officer into Parliament. He now votes on British legislation. And the idea that Johnson visiting these people all the time as a defence, as if that's supposed to make it sound all right. Oh, he often meets with the family of this Russian spy and also their associates. I mean, if that's a defence, how come Prince Andrew didn't try it? Oh, it's fine. I went to Paedophile Island all the time, so there's nothing unusual in it. No, because it's not a defence. If anything, it makes the situation worse. In fact, a couple of years earlier, when Russia first invaded Ukraine, because people keep talking about, if Russia invades Ukraine, it invaded Ukraine years ago. It still occupies it. But Boris Johnson blamed it on the EU. Apparently, the EU, an organisation with no military power at all, was responsible for Russia invading a different sovereign nation. I'll be honest, I don't understand at all why Boris Johnson doesn't get on better with some people, who say that they're on the left, because their foreign policy is exactly the same. Absolute madness. But anyway, then we had the investigation into Russian interference into British politics. It wasn't just the United States where Putin was accused of interfering, but the UK as well. There had been a big push to promote Brexit during the 2016 campaign by Russian bots on social media. Huge rise in their activity in the few days before. And after Brexit, the former Russian ambassador to the UK, Alexander Takovenko, someone who again had close to Boris Johnson, they got on famously, he said, and I quote, "We have crushed the British to the ground. They are on their knees and will not rise for a very long time." They had also funded the Conservative Party as well. We know that the report concluded that the Conservative government, led by Theresa May at the time, had explicitly ordered our intelligence services not to investigate Russian interference in British politics in order that they should not find any evidence. The report said that. The report said that the government had specifically told our intelligence services not to look for evidence. This report was supposed to be published late 2019, but Boris Johnson, who is now Prime Minister getting ready for a general election, suppressed it. He didn't want this coming out. He sat on the report for a very long time, saying, it needed the Intelligence Committee to publish it. This was a lie. The Intelligence Committee had already cleared it long time before. But then after the general election, a new one needed to be formed, he said, because he insisted that it had to be cleared by an Intelligence Committee. So he said, I've got to form this committee first. He prevented its formation for months, absolutely months. There's never been such a long time to form this committee after a general election ever. When it was eventually formed, he tried to rig it so that a majority would vote against publishing it, because he could make sure that there were a majority of Conservative MPs on this committee. And although he's not supposed to interfere in it, he put those who would be loyal to his cause in there, so that a majority would vote for, supposed to be for Chris Grayling, who would then block the publication. However, he chose one of his stooges poorly, and a Conservative MP with rather more patriotism than Johnson anticipated voted with opposition MPs to have himself elected chair of the committee and promptly published it. So we could see for ourselves what we'd suspected, that the Conservatives, including Boris Johnson, but not just him, had specifically told our security forces to ignore any evidence of Putin actively interfering in our electoral processes and politics in general. And we are in a much worse situation, because Boris Johnson is not the Foreign Secretary anymore. You know, with a Prime Minister who can at least be aware that he's a security risk and mitigate the damage he causes by removing his oversight over our own spies. He is Prime Minister now. He commands all of our defence and intelligence agencies. A man whose links to a hostile foreign leader should have meant he never got anywhere near government, but he now runs every government department. He is uniquely placed to be able to put Putin back in his box or to help him out. Russia has a powerful military but a weak economy. But it would be preferable to take economic action that doesn't hurt ordinary Russians with whom we have no quarrel. Boris Johnson has the power to hit Putin's personal economic power in a way that won't mean economic sanctions against the Russian Federation itself. We can hit Putin with his personal wealth. I say personal wealth, the wealth that was stolen from his own country, but still. But apart from tinkering around the edges, he is refusing to use this power. Along with everything else we know about him, this is enough to know that he remains a very useful tool for Putin. This is why we are not being included in coordinated efforts to help Ukraine. It's not because we left the EU. It's not even because we have an idiot as a Prime Minister. You know, leaving the EU weakened our economic influence, not our military influence. We still have a large military that's got nothing, not impacted by Brexit one little bit. We are being sidelined because we cannot be trusted. It's as simple as that. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.